Hey hoodies, welcome back to my channel. My name is Tom and thank you so much for clicking on today's video. Today we're going to talk about the worst of beauty for 2023. So just to let you know, when I say worst of beauty 2023, I mean products that I have personally tried this year, which also means some products that did not come out this year, but I tried for the first time this year. I think it's important to remember that makeup still exists even if it's not in its hype cycle, whether that hype is negative hype or positive hype, like this makeup still lives in the ether, whether or not like it is a new product. And also in your makeup collection, it lives in your makeup collection, whether or not it's a new thing in your makeup collection. So I think it's important to talk about all of the things, even if I didn't buy it this year. If you are new to my channel, hello, welcome. My channel is mostly about loving my makeup collection as it currently is, while trying to build the habit and help you build the habit of being more discerning about the makeup purchases that we might want to make. I want to unpack makeup marketing with you and just really get to the bottom of whether or not a makeup item is going to be actually worth your money, or if it's something that you're going to buy and then forget about in a couple weeks. And that's what we don't want to happen. But that's what the makeup companies want us to do, because if we forget about everything we buy in a couple of weeks and they release a new thing, that means that we're more inclined to buy the new thing. And guess what? Makeup companies are not our friends. And that's something that we need to remember. It's really hard though, because they're really on that social media telling you that you're BFFs, but they don't care about you. Just remember that. I would love to have you subscribe if this kind of content sounds good to you. I'm also on Patreon if you want to support me there. I do some additional content. My podcast with my friend Kaki lives over there. There's no pressure to join my Patreon. It's just something to do if you want to. I went through all of my videos over the course of this year to find things that I tried and I did not like. And I couldn't remember all of them, but then as I was going through the videos, I kept like finding things going, oh yeah, that was not great. And oh yeah, that one was also bad too. I think something that's really important to keep in mind is that oftentimes now that makeup, there's like no makeup that really is bad. It's typically like bad for someone. So I think a lot of this makeup was bad for me, but it was still bad. And so if you bought any of this makeup and this makeup really works for you and is one of your favorite things, that's great. And don't let what I say deter you from using your makeup. That's the last thing I want. You've already spent your money on it and you already love it. Why do you care about what I think after the fact? Like if you just found my video for the first time, why are you gonna get mad at my comments? And don't you come into my comment section trying to defend a brand? Because again, they would not do the same thing for you. So this is all in good fun. This is all just about makeup. This was money that I spent. Let's jump into this. I'm really excited. I will pop pictures up because guess what? When I don't like makeup, I get rid of it. I pass it on to a friend. I declutter it. I don't really return anything. I think there's only one thing I returned this year, but I just rehome things. This will kind of be in chronological order since that's how I went through my list. So we'll hit certain segments where I did like blasts of one type of product. So I apologize. You can always shuffle around the video if that bores you, but that's how it's going to be structured. Let's talk about the Makeup by Mario Surreal Skin Foundation. Ooh, man, that was at the beginning of this year. As I was going through this list, I felt like time has flown by because I feel like I just reviewed the Surreal Skin Foundation and yet it was the first review I did of the year. And I think I purchased it at the end of last year. My review didn't go up until the beginning. I don't even remember when it was launched, but that's when I tried it. I think that we're going to see it a lot more in this year's year-end results as opposed to last year's, because I really don't remember it being out last year. This foundation, it made me look wet. And the thing is, I have oily skin, but I do prefer something that is a little more luminous when it comes to my complexion product because I don't want to fight my oils anymore. Like I'm in my 30s. Listen, as I'm getting lazier as I get older, and the last thing I want to do is put a bunch of like matte things on my face. One, because it looks not so great in real life, but also I think the flip side of that is like do your makeup tends to not make your skin look as good on camera. Like matte definitely looks better on camera. However, I'm in makeup that I want to wear in real life. I'm not in makeup that I want to wear on camera. And I assume that if you are not a makeup content creator, then you want your makeup to look its best in real life. But there is a step too far. And I think Makeup by Mario took Surreal Skin a step too far, which I found to be really confounding because it's a makeup artist brand and makeup artist makeup tends to be like straight down the middle. Like if you're making makeup for makeup artists, it's like the makeup, it's just supposed to be really high performing, but it's like just supposed to look like skin. And then you as the makeup artist use different tools and techniques to make the makeup more dewy or matte based on what you need that makeup to do. And this did not feel like right down the middle. And I can't imagine a professional makeup artist wanting to use this because it made my skin just look like I had just taken a McDouble and just took both of the patties and I just went and scrubbed it all over my face. And it's like, Sometimes I like that. It almost was more like a liquid highlighter in my opinion. I remember mica being really high up on the list. And it was one of those things that in certain lighting, you could just like see the flecks of mica. Now, I don't mind mica being in a complexion product, but I do mind whenever it looks like it's flecks of glitter versus like just a sheen. And the Makeup by Mario foundation was just like not giving me that. It's really interesting because some things by Makeup by Mario I've really enjoyed, and other things I've really not enjoyed. I've not felt anything that was just like meh in the line so far. I haven't tried a lot of it, but it's just like the foundation is what I think of first whenever I think about buying another Makeup by Mario product, and that impression leaves me going, probably won't want to buy another Makeup by Mario thing. And it's interesting because one of his palettes, the Ethereal Eyes palette, is like one of my favorite eyeshadow palettes. And that is not what I think of first. I think of my bad experience with this. If you want to see my full in-depth thoughts about this, there is a really in-depth foundation review. You can check that out, but I'm not even going to link it. You can find it because there's going to be a lot of things where I did videos on. And remember how I said I was lazy? I'm not going to link them all down below for you. Before you ask if I've done a review on something, if you just type in that product plus Haute Mess Tom and nothing comes up, that means I haven't. And then you can ask. But if you find a video where something pops up, maybe check out that video to see if maybe I talked about the thing you're asking me to talk about. You could do that with any content creator. Because I've been getting a lot of requests for things I've already done relatively recently, and just a reminder, just a reminder that you can do that. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is, it wasn't really like a fail, but I think it's important to talk about in the context of like what I do on my channel. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is the Glamonatrix Nocturnal palette. So I think ultimately that this product is fine. However, this was a product that I lusted after for a very long time. The product had been out for a whole year before I got my hands on it. Then I bought it and then I tried it. And I had built up this palette so much in my brain that it was going to be like a really, really excellent palette. And then it was just fine. And then that just fine, because I had built up the hype around it so much in my brain, led me to feel like it was worse than I think it actually was. I think it was like a perfectly acceptable palette. But to this palette's like discredit is it came into my life whenever I was moving from one makeup style into another. Like my makeup's a lot more simple than it was whenever I was very attracted to the Nocturnal palette. And when I like grungy tones, and I think that palette had a lot of grungy tones in it. However, my grungy tones, I like it to be like a brown. Like I like a grungy brown, a grungy, really, really dark green. I don't like things that stray too far from like brown anymore, unless it's like my lid shade. The lid shade's on there, which I typically use a shimmer. So there was a bunch of shimmers in there. I wasn't even really impressed by the shimmers in that palette, except for one shade, which was Milky Way, which if I were to buy anything from that palette again, because I think you can buy all of those shades as single, Milky Way would be the only one I would consider buying. And buying this palette actually kind of set me off in this feeling where I would never buy anything from Glamonatrix again. But that's not true, because I have purchased something. Now, if you are an avid watcher of my channel, you're probably going to see a lot of makeup that I haven't talked about yet. I'm just going to save that for the new year. I have a lot more like fun content coming out because it's like the end of the year. But don't worry, like we will talk about those things. It's just like we're probably not going to do like a let's play with makeup until the new year. So if you've seen me using things on Instagram or see me bought things, or like whenever you watch my declutter, if you see some things in there you're like, I didn't even know Tom had that, don't worry, we'll talk about them eventually. It's not probably this month. Also, it gives me some time to get to really know those things without talking about it, which I really like sometimes, like having like a little secret project, not so secret, but like having a little like secret moment where I'm like trying out makeup without really explaining to you like the what or why of it is nice. I have bought from Glamonatrix again. The thing about Glamonatrix, it's an Australian brand, and I didn't feel like the Nocturnal palette was worth waiting and going through international shipping for, because I felt like there's a lot of brands in America, or more easily accessible in America, that I could get the same kind of product from, if not better versions of the product. However, I've kind of heard that with each palette Glamonatrix releases, the formulas do improve or differ, and I would say so. Like the palette that I bought, just because we're talking about it, and I've mentioned this a couple times on my channel, but I have the Fairy Lights palette that they released for holiday this year, which is a bunch of these like really glittery metallics. And these are so much better than the shimmers that I tried in the Nocturnal palette. So it does seem like they take feedback, and I think they've reformulated their mattes a couple of times. The thing about the mattes in that palette was that they were really bright, colorful mattes, and with bright, colorful mattes often comes with different techniques that I don't really like to use when I'm applying my eyeshadow, which is like kind of like a pack and blend. The browns of it all really are my speed. It's just like there's just something to be said about something really easy to throw on the eye, and that's like what I'm into. I'm so sorry. I used to be a bright girly, but I just am not. I look in the mirror and I don't see her anymore. Okay, this one's unpopular, and this was not a product that was released this year, but earlier this year I did a brand review of Kaleidos because I had heard a lot of my peers on YouTube really liking them. They've done some collabs with some YouTubers that I like. I really liked Kaleidos for the most part, but there was one product that stuck out to me as like a very bad product, and I thought it was bad. That I just thought it was a bad product, and it was their multi-chrome eyeliner. I have the shade, and I think the shade is important because that came up a few times. I had the shade Night of Creation, which was like a purple multi-chrome. Now, I never tried a multi-chrome liner before, and I thought, ooh, a multi-chrome eyeliner might be a fun way to spice up my very neutral looks that I have been doing recently, but like still adding some intrigue. And this eyeliner was like the driest, most tugging, most lack of payoff kind of eyeliner I've ever tried. And that's coming off the back of me trying my favorite eyeliner I've ever tried right before this. I've been working on a Victoria Beckham makeup review, brand review, which I don't think when I did the Kaleidos brand review had come out yet. I was still secretly trying the Victoria Beckham brand. And so I was really getting on with the Victoria Beckham eyeliner. And then this eyeliner was just it just dragged on my skin. There's one thing that I will not stand for when it comes to a eyeliner, and it is dragging on the skin. We all age, right? And that's like a thing that we're doing. And I'm not even saying so much as to like enhance the potential wrinkles or texture that I may get on my eyelids. However, it's just like a very unpleasant experience when you put an eyeliner to your lid and you drag it and then it tugs your eyelid. And not only that, when it's tugging your eyelid, there's just also no real pigment coming out. There's like a little bit of pigment, but it's not like a one swipe deal. Not only that, I find that whenever I'm using an eyeliner that requires me going over and over and over it again, I'm gonna make more mistakes. And that's when the eyeliner gets really thick and it doesn't look as good. It's because I've gone over it so many times, but I've not like precisely applied it right where I did the first time. So then it's kind of like, it's just me fixing it. And the multi-chrome shift on it, I did not see a lot of payoff, but also it was never something that I would ever like put all over my lid as an eyeliner. However, I just want to throw this out there because, you know, all of us have different experiences, and whenever you review something, people will tell you their experiences with them. Almost everyone disagreed with me on that eyeliner. I don't know if I like got a dud. And someone did leave in my comments, I think it was my friend Andromeda, they said like that shade in particular is the one that's the hardest to work with, and all the other shades are much easier to work with. And I've also said this before, but in case you're new here, if you release a line of product and there's one version of that product, one color of that product that doesn't work as well as the rest of the products, then maybe you shouldn't put it out. Because now my impression of these eyeliners is that they're not good product, but maybe I don't think that, but it is my experience with it. And I also think what's really important whenever you're shopping for makeup is like you're trying to make the best decision possible whenever you're only buying one of one formula, that like you're buying the shade that's going to be the best for you. And I do ultimately think of the shades that they have, that would be the shade that I would use the most of those shades. And so that's why I bought that one. So I think it's a failure on them. Whatever happened was a failure on Kaleidos. But I liked a lot of the other products that I used from Kaleidos in that video. It was just like that particular product was like a really standout. No bueno. Okay, let's talk about a brand that I typically talk about in pretty high regard, but there were a couple products from this brand that I actually didn't like. And it's Victoria Beckham, the Reflect Highlight Stick. If you really like a balmy, doesn't melt into the skin, stays on top of the skin kind of highlight, then I think you'll really like it. I don't. And it's not that I really don't, because there are a lot of cheek products that I will put up with that I've heard a lot of other people will not put up with because they are sticky. My hair, which even when it was longer, wasn't long enough to fall onto my cheek. And so I never have the issue of something like being balmy really being that annoying unless I've just shaved and then there's like hair everywhere, even though I've like washed my face and tried to get all the unattached hair off my face. Like sometimes that'll be a problem. It's just one of those things where it's like, I think that Victoria Beckham is capable of better. And I think that that product, I don't really think it's like a dud. It's just like a very disappointing product in the lineup. Like it's a product that I would never recommend to someone. I would sooner recommend the Lit Up Highlight Sticks from Westman Atelier. And while those also kind of stay tacky, they don't stay as, like the Victoria Beckham thing just does feel like you're putting lip balm on your cheek. And I don't really feel that way about the Lit Up Highlight Sticks, which I think are a beautiful product. They're not my favorite cream highlight, but I do think that West Atelier got it more right than Victoria Beckham did. The packaging of that particular product, which is Victoria Beckham packaging is like some of my favorite packaging, it just like didn't feel as luxe as the rest of it. Like it still had the weight to it, but you think that it's gonna feel really like metal, but I think it was just like gold plastic and it's like a little bit of a disappointment. It's just not for me. And also, like, it should be something that I liked more than I did because I've kind of shifted away from, like, really blinding highlight and I like something a little bit more subtle. It did really nothing for me, and it's not something, like, if you're exploring the brand Victoria Beckham, it's not the tea. It's just not the tea. So I don't think it's, like, the worst product, but it was, like, a disappointing product to me, is Victoria Beckham's Cheeky Posh blushes. There's never been a more average blush cream formula. It's, like, simply fine. It's just not noteworthy. Not only that, I just feel like Victoria Beckham's blush shades are not as like honed in or nuanced as the rest of her makeup collection. Like they're just kind of like, it's an orange, it's a red, it's a this, it's a pink, it's a this, it's a that. And that's one thing that I think a lot of luxury brands tend to get right whenever you talk about cheek shades and lipstick shades, is like there's just a lot of nuance to them. And I just like didn't feel that way. And the blush, it's just like, I would never pay that much for like simply an average blush. If you want an average blush, get your average blush from a drugstore. I like did nothing good nor nothing bad. And I think being unnoteworthy, like not having anything to say about it, is maybe even worse than being a product that I absolutely hate. Like it was just like, okay. So I wouldn't buy one of those again. And if you're checking out the brand, I would skip that as well as the highlight. I hope to see Victoria Beckham do a powder blush in the future because I would like to try that. Maybe I'd like that more, but a powder highlight, I would take that too. I'm gonna make waves with my next opinion. But the Tower 28 Makewaves mascara, I think influencers are scamming. I think influencers are scamming you. I recently even talked about it in a Critical Sass when they recently released the brown mascara, the brown version of this mascara. I think this is a bad mascara. Let me tell you why. When you first get it, it applies beautifully. And I hope you like that. Because about after a week or two of use, it starts drying up in a way that I've never had any other mascara. And there are definitely some mascaras when you first open them and you try them, it's like not the best, but like a week into use, they settle in and then they show their true colors and they like actually are really beautiful. But it's like that first week where you're like, it's not my favorite formula. No, I think out the gate, the Makewaves mascara, lovely. Lovely. It doesn't take long for that mascara to be one of the most unpleasant things to work with. It started tugging on my eyelashes and not applying as beautifully, and I don't think that it made my eyelashes look as good about a week or two in. So I understand that we have a high turnover rate for mascara, but I'm not buying a new $20 mascara every 2 weeks just for the effect of it, because I would like my mascara to last at least 3 months. And I don't know what the shelf life on the Tower 28 one is, but mascaras tend to have like a 3 to 6 month shelf life, and everyone follows that rule differently. I kind of stay strictly to it, mostly because if I don't stay strictly to it, if I forget to do it every 3 months, I'm not going to do it. Then I'll be using a mascara for a year. And I just like feel some kind of way about that because of where it goes. And there's no real way to sanitize that. Like with an eyeliner, you can sanitize it, but you can't really do that with a mascara. So it's like, who knows what gunk is in there? And even though it's gunk that's only been on my eyes because it's like my mascara, but it's just like, I don't know. I can't see what's going on inside that tube. I just think it's not worth even the $20 because after 30 days, I found it almost unusable and I like bought a new mascara after that because it was just like, and I don't even wear mascara every day, but I imagine if I was a regular mascara user where like I put mascara on every day, like I would be burning through those Tower 28 mascaras. And yeah, my eyelashes look really beautiful when I first used it, but I don't think it's worth it. I don't even think it's worth the $20. I just don't think it's a good mascara. I think they need to like go back to the drawing board and figure out whatever preservatives they're using, maybe change them, because I think it's this nice formula at first, but I think all of the faults come with everything that happens after you're using it for a little bit. I think that mascara got released towards the end of the year. I feel like this year you're probably going to see it on the best of end of list. I just have no idea how that could be anyone's favorite mascara. Like I just really don't. I was validated whenever I started talking about it. A lot of people who had tried it left comments that they had a similar experience where it started tugging on their lashes, which is like a big no-no. And I felt validated, but then I also was like, I have not heard anyone else on the internet talk about it, but that's been my experience. Let's get into some foundations. So the Lancome Teint Idole Care and Glow Foundation. I couldn't even tell you if it was a good or bad foundation because it smelled. It smelled so much. I wore it once or twice. I remember, I think I put it on camera and I just like, I smelled it, but I thought it might have been, I had just cleaned my brushes, so I didn't know if it was like the brush soap, but then I was like putting it on my face and then I kept smelling something. It was just all I could smell. I just smelled the foundation. And not only that, I could still smell the foundation like 4 hours later. And I was like, what's going on? There are a lot of products that I use that are scented, and I don't really love a scent in my product, but if the scent dissipates, that's okay by me. So, like, I don't know, I use like Chanel blushes and things like that, like Gucci lipsticks. Like, it's like the scent will dissipate, right? It goes away. That foundation scent did not go away, and like it's called the Karen Glow, and I just kind of was like, it felt like they were putting fragrance in it to cover up the smell of the SPF, because I had the regular Teint Idole and I never felt like it was like highly fragranced. I think it smelled a little bit like SPF because there was SPF in it, and that didn't bother me. And I felt like they took this foundation, they're like, we're gonna put so much fragrance in it. I did not like it. I did not like it just because of the smell. And I was not gonna put up with that stinky smell all day, every day, even no matter how gorgeous the foundation was. But I remember it just kind of being like a mid foundation. I've heard other people say they really like it, but I could not get past the smell of it. The Gucci Eternité de Beauté foundation, which was the foundation that they launched this year. The shade that I got was like 120N. It was like a neutral shade. And it was really green. It was like really green and it wasn't neutral. And every time I put it on, I was like, do I look this color? Am I this color? And the thing was, the green was like in there enough for you to know it was green, but like it's like it wasn't so much where I was like, I'll put that on my face and it will look not right, but it surely didn't look right. There's something to be said whenever you're trying on a foundation. If the color does not work for you, it's really hard to like unbiased review it because it's not going to look right or sit right on your skin. Typically, you need to use more of it to kind of blink out what your skin color is so that it's all that color. And so I think that was the major problem. And the thing about Gucci, again, I just talked about how fashion houses tend to have like a lot of nuance in their products. It's like Gucci has a lot of shades in this foundation, but it was like confusing that the shade that should have been the shade that I was like this green. And the other thing was, I just remember thinking the foundation was like fine beyond that, not like really exciting either way. Because I remember them describing it as a soft matte, and I was interested in trying a soft matte foundation because all of my foundations tend to be luminous because that's my preference. I was like, well, it could be useful to have a semi-matte foundation because on camera, it could be nice to use whenever I'm like doing a video where I have more eyes on me, like something like Critical Sass or whatever, where like I want my makeup to look really good and like it's not just like an application. It didn't do much for me, not gonna lie. And that's disappointing because I think that foundation is like $72. I don't want to even try to find my right shade in it because I was just like, this is mid. Another foundation. It was a big year of foundation fails for me. The Rituel Defe 3-drop foundation that launched this year, I was pretty disappointed in it. And I did like a feature-length film on why I didn't like it and compared it to the old formula. Now, I don't think the old formula was perfect. The old formula was a lab sample test, but I did like the lab sample a little bit more. Now, my lab sample had kind of gone off because Rituel Defe, I don't think uses like incredibly intense preservatives, but I have had some other things from Rituel Defe that don't go off. Anyway, but it had been a year and it was like a liquid, and I think it was my first liquid from Rituel Defe. That might be their first liquid product. I don't even actually know. There's so much pigment, and it's such a concentrated pigment. 3 drops is like too many. And so I got it down to, I was using like a drop. Even then, I still felt like it didn't look right on my skin. But the biggest problem with that foundation for me and my skin was that it felt like it was sitting on top of my skin and not becoming one with my skin. My fingers probably were the best application method, but like it didn't matter what I did to try to get my skin to absorb it, it just sat on my skin. And that was pretty disappointing because it looked like I was wearing a mask. The thing about the original formulation that I really liked is that I felt like it was blurring. And it wasn't really trying to cover up a lot. It was just like something that you could put on kind of haphazardly because it didn't really matter if you like blended it out well or got every part of your face. It was just like it did some nice things to your face without being a lot of coverage. Whereas they made more shades of it, and then the coverage became a lot more intense. And I'm not looking for a lot of coverage, but I wouldn't say it was. I don't think someone who likes a full coverage foundation would like that either because of the way that it sits. It's seemingly very specific for people who with dry skin. Those seem to be the people who have gotten on with it the best, but I found the formula incredibly fussy. I didn't like how my other makeup laid on top of it. It just became like, just not my favorite thing to work with. The thing about Rituel Defe is like I like a lot of their products, but that one just felt like a pretty big miss to me and what my preferences were. Let's talk about another brand that I really, really like and talk very highly about on my channel. Surratt has loose powders, and I've never heard anyone talk about them before. And after trying it, I now know why no one ever talks about it. It's a little bit disappointing because Surratt's like pressed powder, blushes, bronzers, eyeshadows, highlighters, some of the most beautiful powder formulas I've ever tried. They almost feel like creams. They like melt into your skin. They look so good on the skin. The powders, the loose powders, you kind of lost me. Now, there's two different types. There's one that's supposed to leave you looking more glowy, and then there's a matte one. The matte one comes in a translucent white, and the more luminous one is in this like yellow color. Now, not like banana powder yellow, but it was yellow enough to leave a cast on my skin, which I don't think is great, especially if you have deeper skin. This yellow powder is also going to do the same thing. We're just going to leave like an ashy yellow shade on you. It just was like, none of it made sense because I believe in Surratt's products and the quality of them. Like most of the things I've tried from Surratt, I can see working for someone, especially if it doesn't work for me. Like, I don't know who these powders were for. It just feels like Surratt felt like they needed to have one, and it felt like a really big afterthought. It's big yikes. Big yikes. And it's the thing was the Luminous powder, which is the one that I got, it was like the Eclatant. I feel like it did make my skin look pretty good, but it was like really hard to tell because it was making me look a little bit jaundiced. And I don't want that to be the look that I walk away with after using a powder. And like the other thing is, and this is just like a general Surratt thing, is like they have some refillable packaging, but all of it's plastic, and it's like, well, where, to what end? Like, what are we doing? Like, why have we chosen this route for refillable packaging? And why are we, who benefits from this? I just don't know. I didn't feel like I benefited from it. This is actually probably the most disappointing product of the year for me, and it's another Makeup by Mario product, and it is the SoftSculpt Skin Enhancer, which is like what looks like a cream bronzer in a pan, but I don't know that it's supposed to be a cream bronzer. What is it? What does it do? Now, I've got it in the lightest shade, and at the time when I was like trying it out, everyone was like, maybe you should have gotten the slightly deeper one. I'm into a bronzer that doesn't feel like it looks like a bronzer, but when I tell you I was putting this on my skin and I was like, I don't see anything happening. I don't see like not a lick of anything happening. It's not, nothing happened. And I have very fair skin. So whenever I'm using like the fairest of something and I feel like it's not showing up on me, perhaps, you know, there are people who are fairer than me, and maybe this is a bronzer that works really well for them. I still just didn't get it because it's called a skin perfector, and I do feel like wherever I put it, it made my skin look worse. Just the quality of my skin, like I feel like it enhanced texture. So it did a SoftSculpt enhance my texture, but that's not something I would like to be enhanced Makeup by Mario. And I tried it so many times. I thought about exchanging it for the next shade deeper, but I just didn't like the formula. I didn't like the formula of it. I was confused by it. And I wouldn't say like I wear the heaviest amount of bronzer anymore. There was a time where I like wore a lot more bronzer, but when I tell you, I just feel like it didn't do anything for me. I just feel like it didn't do anything for me. Like I would build it up just to be like, can something happen? Show me what you can do. And it just didn't do anything for me. A lot of people love that product. I recommend getting the shade deeper than you think you need if you are planning on buying it, because that was the feedback that I received the most. But it's a product that I wouldn't buy again. Like if I did a Makeup by Mario review, I don't know that I would try that product again to see if I can get it to work, because it's like just like not for me. Makeup Forever. I did a Makeup Forever brand review. I don't even know if this is the formula they still have, but I think it's the like OG Makeup Forever HD setting powder. Powder's come a long way since this product came out, specifically for people who are like living their everyday life. And this just isn't it. This white, stark white powder, I don't feel like it is translucent. And I also feel like it made my skin look like it had been through winter. So it like mattified, but then like made dry patches where I don't have them. Like it just kind of felt like if it had like a lot of pigment to it, I think it would just be a really, really patchy powder. And I just felt like it was really finicky. You had to use the slightest bit of hand. And I understand that makeup artists, like when you watch a makeup artist apply makeup, they do really, really light layers. But like I'm at home and I have things to do, so I can't just be doing all of that. So I just need to be able to like a powder on my face really quickly, and I want it to do everything that I want it to do. And I just feel like this, it had no blurring qualities. It just was like, this is a powder to mattify your face poorly. And it was bad. Okay, this is a product I still actually have in my collection, but the Makeup Artist Forever Rouge Artist Lipstick, I have like the lightest shade in it. It's not the shade, it's the formula that bothers me. It just did not want to stay on my lips. It felt like when I was applying it, it did not want to be there. And it is a lipstick, so I don't know why it was trying to not want to be on my lips, because that's where it goes. And it's a really pretty color. It's like a beigey concealer lip. I think it's called Beyond Beige. I think that's the name of the shade that I purchased. I think it's just the shade 100. And every time I wear it, I get compliments on it and people really like it. And every time I have to be like, it's not a good lipstick formula. You should try to find this color in some other one. And I keep it because I like the effect of it. It does this thing on the inside of the lips. It just doesn't want to adhere to that part of my lip. And not where the moisture starts, because they're obviously all lipstick kind of just like stops where like the most moisture is. What it doesn't is it just like doesn't go on the lip. And so then I'm building it up more. It has a strange scent and taste to it. Now, I don't think the scent and the taste are the same, but like, it's just like a very overall unpleasant experience to use that lipstick, even though I think that the shade is really, really beautiful. But I think Makeup Forever could do a lot better with their lipstick. Now, maybe if I bought a shade that was like a little bit deeper, not so stark, maybe there's a lot of white pigment in it, and maybe that's why it was making it sit weird on my lips. Still, maybe if it looks like that on my lips, then it doesn't need to be a shade that exists in your line, or you should figure it out before you release it, because oh, it's bad. It was bad. And then I post about it, and I love whenever people come to my rescue and are like, no. Your experience with that? Valid. Because mine was the same. It's a shame because Makeup Forever has really a very large range of lipsticks. Like, and it would be nice to be able to like go to that whenever you're looking for a specific shade, but I would not recommend them. I did a video earlier this year where I did a deep dive into a bunch of contour products. And there are 3 products that I would like to discuss with you here at the end of this year that I thought were pretty bad. So the first one, the worst one of them all, is I hate to say this, the Danessa Myricks Contour Balm. I'm speaking for me and my skin tone. I tried the shade Light 2. Based on what I could surmise online, Light 2 looked to be like the most cool toned. And it was baby poop green. It was just a baby poop green. From opening the compact, I was like, we're in trouble. This isn't great. And I thought about returning it before I did it. But it was one of the products that was like most requested of me to try. And I was like, well, if this could be helpful to people, but then the color is, I swatched it and I blended it out and I was like, it still looks baby poop green. It's just like, looks like baby poop. I don't know what else to tell you, like a baby poop. And then not only is it a terrible color for contour, that formula was really hard to work with. It made it always kind of like got away. It just kind of got away and just would muck up and muddy up every look I did with it. I would only use it off camera. Like if I was doing like a let's play with makeup or something, I never wanted to test it on camera because it was that bad. I just could not get it to work for me. I always thought my makeup looked bad. I always wanted to start my makeup over if I used it. It just was that bad. So I think I only used it like 7 times and I was like, I will never use this again. I haven't. Some of my friends who have olive skin said that they love that product. And so I think that's great because olive skin is not often catered to in the beauty space. So I think if you have olive skin, it could be worth checking out. And I think that goes for all the depths. Like they all have some like green to it. Miss Danessa Myricks, I don't know what you were trying to do, but it did not work for me. Like you and the way you do that, the way you use that. This is a call to action. Danessa Myricks, if you're watching this video, I would love for us to be in a room together and I would just love for you to contour my face with that product in the right shade. Maybe I bought the wrong shade and like show me what to do because I couldn't get it to work. The next contour product I would like to talk about is the Uoma Freed Contour Stick, and I had the shade White Pearl. This was another product that got away from me. I thought the color was pretty nice. It was a little warmer than I prefer for my contour, which is one thing. You need so little of it. You need so little of it, but it comes in a stick. And what I surmise whenever you sell a product in a stick form is that that product is meant to be like drawn on. And if it's not meant to be drawn on, don't put it in that kind of component. If it came in a compact, then I would use a brush or like another way to apply it. But if you put it in a stick, it feels like it's meant to draw on. But that product is not meant to be drawn on because it deposits too much product and then the product gets all over. It just keeps spreading and spreading and spreading. And the blend is kind of beautiful whenever it stops, but I would blend and blend and blend. And it would just keep going up and up and up and like in and in. Then all of a sudden it looked like something very insensitive. And I took my brush, my contour brush, after I had blended it out the first time on camera, and I just went like this. I went from my wrist all the way down to my elbow, and it covered my whole arm in contour. It spreads too far. I don't know. I don't know what it was about that formula, but it did not feel very user-friendly to me. Even whenever I was taking a brush and taking it from the thing and drawing it on my face, I just felt like it was too fussy. If I'm gonna have a contour product in a stick, I want it to be able to be drawn on my face and not lift my foundation. It didn't lift anything, but like that's my dream. In my dream world, a stick product does that beautifully, and it didn't. Another stick contour product that did not do it beautifully is the Milk Makeup Contour Stick. And I had the lightest shade of that. And that was kind of like the combination of the Uoma and the Danessa Myricks when you put them together, and then it would be like, it would spread so far. The color was just odd. It looked really cool toned, and then I blended it out on my face, and then I just feel like it looked like muck, looked like muddy. It made all of the things that you never want to happen with a contour product happen, where it just looked like mud on the cheeks, like it just looked like something terrible happened on the cheeks. I was only able to get that product to work by taking a very loosely packed brush, kind of swiping it in and like very lightly tapping it in, which it would be, that product would last a really long time with that kind of usage. But it's also like, I said it earlier, I'm trying to play loose and fancy free when I'm doing my makeup. I don't think my makeup should be something that I have to work for. I don't think your makeup should be something that you have to work for. Like, it definitely obviously requires some skill, but I don't want to be sitting here all day doing it because the makeup, I want it to be seen by other people. And if I'm sitting in my vanity going do, 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 with every step, no. And the Milk makeup, it just made my skin look so muddy, gross. It didn't ruin my makeup as much as the other two did, but it still was ruining my makeup. We've built it up all the way to the final product, and it is the Laura Mercier Real Flawless Luminous Perfecting Talc-Free Pressed Powder. That made my skin look bad. And I'm a powder girly. I use 4 powders sometimes. Most of the time 3. That's not one I would add to my regimen. It was like kind of heavy looking on the skin. And I do think at first it looked okay. I do think even though it was translucent, it did make my skin a little bit yellow, kind of just like the Surratt one did, the Surratt Luminous powder. So I don't know what ingredient they are to making it luminous, but I'm wondering if it's the same kind of ingredient that makes like that yellow, whatever that yellowish pigment is, or not pigment, yellowish ingredient is. It just makes my skin go like, it just looks a little bit not right on my skin. And one time I was wearing it, I think it happened on camera. I like looked at my skin, I just felt like my makeup had just like went boop. It just like microscopically moved a little bit. And I was like, it's that powder. I knew it was that powder. It didn't play well. It also, I was using it with a foundation that certainly didn't love powder too much, which was the Glossier foundation. I used it on that a couple times. And it was like, those two together were like, not great. they did not love each other. Like the Glossier foundation just like doesn't seem to like a lot of powder. And then that powder being very heavy and applying that on it, ooh, just wasn't it. Those were my least favorite products of 2023. What are some of the products that you tried this year that really didn't work out for you? Let us know in the comments down below so we can avoid it. What did I get wrong? What did I try and get wrong? You can tell me, but I'll ignore you. But you can leave it for the engagement. That's fine by me. You can do whatever you like. Anyway, if you're not already subscribed and you enjoyed today's video, I would love to have you subscribe. Make sure you like the video. I'm on Patreon again. If you'd like to support me there, patreon.com/HopeMessTom. Additional content lives over there. Again, there's no pressure to join there, but thank you all my current patrons. You're the loveliest. And that's that. I'm going to wrap it up. We're done talking about bad things. I mean, for the rest of the year. So I will see you in the new year with some more terrible things. So you should subscribe. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Remember to follow your hoe, and you'll find me. I'll see you in a video very soon. Bye-bye.